Well, we are very happy with this new meeting. We are happy and very proud of introduce Amy Sands and Heather Leier. They are wonderful artists that have been working with us in different times in the previous years. So we start in alphabetical order with Amy. Yes.
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Well,
Hello.
Amy Sands,
Yes.
MFA Pratt Institute is a Minneapolis-based artist. She has exhibited in solo and group shows across the world, including Prince Tokyo 2012, Tokyo Metropolitan Art Museum, the International Printmaking Biennial of Douro, Portugal, and the International Biennial Print Exhibit 2020 ROC at the National Taiwan Museum of Fine Arts. Her work has been internationally recognized, including first prize in the third International Mini Print Cantabria in Santander, Spain, Churros Choice Award, Awagami International Miniature Print Exhibition 2017, Tokushima, Japan, first place home exhibition at the Rourke Art Museum, Moorhead, MN. She is a recipient of 2020 MN State Arts Board Grant, 2019 Springboard for the Arts Art in the Public Realm Grant, and 2018 Springboard for the Arts Bottineau Boulevard Grant. Sands maintains a studio in the Twin Cities area where she is Associate Professor of Studio Arts and Chair of the Fine Arts Department at the Metropolitan State University, St. Paul, Minnesota.
So, Amy, please.
Thank you so much, Andrea and Gabriel. It's so wonderful to see you again. And thanks to all of you that are here today as well. Special shout out to Heather, who shared the Traces seminar with me. And I see Maria Amelia is also here, who shared the artist residency with me in Spain. So good to see you. And as well as Liana Strasberg, who's not able to make it today, who was also an artist in residence at the same time as I was. And wow, what an incredible, life-changing experience this was. Just the whole, it's been such a whirlwind, really, thinking about from exhibiting in the mini print to then taking the Traces seminar during the pandemic, where we were meeting virtually and being inspired just by working from our backyard, and then taking that to being an artist in residence at Spain, where we're surrounded with the incredible beauty and color. And I just want to talk for a moment about the experience I had visiting the caves, because it was like nothing I had ever experienced before. And I had read a lot about Paleolithic art and seen images in textbooks over the years, but nothing prepared me for the enormity of the caves and the dramatic impact it would be to stand amidst looking at these cave paintings from 24,000 years ago, and some even earlier than that. So it was just so, it just really stripped me upon arrival at Cantabria, and just being able to be present in this space. And thank you to Andrea and Gabriel for the incredible whole lineup of places that we visited. And And especially, I'm not very good at Spanish, so I really appreciated Andrea's interpretation of all of the various guides that took us through the caves. And it was such a personal and special experience, and I had no idea what I was about to witness, and it was something everybody should see in their lifetime. It was just so amazing. And then I had to try to work, had to try to make work after seeing these incredible caves. So that was not easy. And I started my journey while I was at the residency just by really sitting there and journaling for really 2 to 3 days. I needed to just write, and even if it was just recording what I saw and translating what I thought I saw and experienced and trying to remember that. I didn't want to forget that experience of being there. And so I just did a lot of journaling. And then by the time I did that, we started to go around to some of the various locations, which were so beautiful, and the scenery is just stunning, and I have never seen so many various shades of green in my life, and the blues as well. And then I just decided it was going to be something that I would go to each place and just be open to whatever moved me with that place. And that's how I started. And I didn't want to go with any preconceived ideas as to what I was going to do. I was just going to go to the place and then let whatever was speaking to me move me. I did bring a backpack with some drawing materials, some paper. I brought my camera, and I brought a piece of fabric with me that I had used in the Traces seminar when I first started. So let me jump to showing you some images instead of just listening to me talk. And then if you have questions, of course, I'll try to answer them as well. Although we'll probably have a question period after, I'm guessing. So
yes.
Okay, so let me share my screen. Okay, so this is my page on the SM Pro Art Circle's website. So if for some reason you want to go back, I have some videos to share, and I'm sure we won't have time to watch them all. So you're welcome to go back to this page. And so I'll talk a little bit about how I started with this work, and then I'll move into the experience of the residency in Spain. And then if we have time, I will share how some of this has translated back after I got home. So I will try not to scroll too quickly. I'm going to actually fast forward to the Traces seminar, which is the first experience when I first connected during the pandemic, again, working from my backyard, because this might help make more sense with what I was doing after at the residency. So I took a piece of fabric to document and record the shadows in my backyard. I will preface this with saying that there were 2 trees in our backyard planted, given from my parents who are here today. Hi, Mom and Dad. And they were given to my children when they were born, and it was each was the height of what they measured at birth. And so during the pandemic, I was separated from both children. In particular, my son, who had just moved to California right before, and it was really difficult because I didn't see him for almost a year. And so this was a way of feeling their presence, even though they weren't there with me because their trees were still in the backyard. So I took a piece of fabric and started recording the shadows that I saw. Some of these also turned into videos. And then I'm going to share a couple of, so these are really meant to be played simultaneously as if there's 3 different screens. So it may not make sense in this format necessarily, but I will certainly try to share that with you.
I remember when I met you. I looked at you in wonder, aware of your fragility. Of my view. Center of my world was present. I admired you close from afar. I watched you grow. The sun rises. The sun falls. Many days. Shadows dancing. Many memories. I feel the wind. Branches growing. Your shadow. I see the light. Me. You are present.
Okay, so it was a little bit out of sync. I apologize for that. So if you're able to play them, they should be in sync so that I can hear the whole reading together. And so then that was part of the Traces seminar when I was working from my backyard. And then I went to Cantabria, Spain last May until the first week of June for a couple of weeks. And there I was responding to the various locations that they brought us. So here it was really reacting to the mossy rocks. And I will expand that so you can see it a little better. Oops, let's see. So again, working with the fabric, I wanted to feel like I had a cloak of this moss around me, similar to the way that the rocks had this cloak of moss forming around them. We were there at low tide, so the imagery was quite beautiful with the bright greens present. Here I am again there. And then we went to El Mirador Fuente del Chivo, and there I was really just overtaken by the power of the wind. It was just incredible. So in an attempt to capture it, I was really trying to have a performance or collaboration with the wind, as I would call it. And these were some of the ways that the wind captured the fabric. And graciously, Andrea had documented it for me. So you can see how steep it was. I think for me, I'm a little bit afraid of heights. So it's a lot steeper than it appears. And so I wanted to face away from the mountain, and the wind really just felt like it was just going to take off with you. So, and here is another example of that. See, there's a couple of Thank you. I'm trying to key into the comments just to see if there's questions as they're arriving, but thank you for your sharing of your ideas and thoughts. So then the other place that I was really impressed by was the head of the Ebro River. And here the colors of the water were just so beautiful because the minerals were bright blues and greens. But also I was very impressed by the shadows that took place, and the songbirds. And so I went and brought my fabric around and started to document and record. And so these are some of the videos that I completed while I was in my residency during Spain.
Sorry, Amy, does it have sound?
Yes.
Oh, I have it shared. Is it not sharing sound for you right now?
No, no.
Oh, strange. Okay, let me see if I can share computer sound. Okay. Is it better? Oops.
Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
Mhm. So I know we don't have time for all of them, so I'll just share a few highlights of each of them. But what really moved me was not only the sounds and the imagery that was happening with the shadows, but it also reminded me of the allegory of Plato's cave, where you might think that the shadows themselves were producing the sounds of the birds, or vice versa. So I was really amazed just the various colors and shadows that took place, and how it was stripped down to this most simplistic, beautiful pattern of the nature that I was seeing. And one more. So just 1 second. I hit the wrong button, but that's okay because okay. I hit the wrong button, but I do have a few other pieces that are related that I continued when I returned back home. As I processed much of the experience, I wanted to continue working with light and shadow. So I thought I'd show you how it translated into an exhibit once I got back home. So I continued to produce works for my McKnight Fellowship exhibit at High Point Center for Printmaking, and that was just on view January through May of this year. And so I continued to work with light and shadow, working on kozo papers. These are a series of prints, and also worked with the element of time as these both were moving installations. So I wanted to use the shadowy light format, but this time I used ink. They measure 7 feet tall, and a series of 5 images, prints became the piece Ancestral Garden. And they're each layered with 2 pieces of kozo paper. And again, they move freely in the air as the viewer walks by. Here you can see the piece entitled Life Cycles. And this is using real skeleton leaves with monoprints, as you can see here. I also created a series of prints utilizing the shadows that I documented in Spain, and the vegetation from that. And then here, which is what I wanted to really show you, is the video that you just saw was all compiled into one long video. And I used the same fabric that I used to make the work in the display of the work. So I took it full circle. So the same fabric that was also with the wind that you saw earlier was utilized in the final installation. And then I projected the imagery onto the fabric. So it made you wonder whether you were standing inside looking out or outside looking in, because it resembled that of a curtain. And here's another view of that. And to get the full experience, here's a quick video that shares what the final installation of the exhibit looked like. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Many thanks, Amy, really. It looks amazing. When Heather finish, then we can talk with the rest of the artists and talk with you especially, and give their suggestions and concerns and everything. So we continue later. Many thanks, really.
Well, Heather Leier. Heather is an assistant professor in the Department of Art and Art History at the University of Calgary in British Seven region in southern Alberta, Canada. Through her art practice, She employs research creation approaches to examine embodied trauma and problematize assumptions, constructed life, process, and identities. This work ranges from the production of printed ephemera to life-size, site-specific print installations, all of which draw attention to negotiation of space and endurance with violence. Leier has exhibited her work widely both nationally and internationally, including exhibitions in Spain, China, USA, Bulgaria, Switzerland, Russia, Japan, Poland, Egypt, Mexico, and Taiwan. Leier has curated a number of contemporary art projects and was the 2020 recipient of the University of Calgary Sustainability Teaching Award. When she isn't teaching or working on various print projects, she is likely tending to her growing plant collection or helping to facilitate the gallery programming at Alberta Printmakers Society. Here, when you want.
Thank you so much. I created quite a lengthy bio there, so thank you for reading that. I'll share my screen, and I created a little bit of a presentation, but I'll jump to the SM Pro Art website as well when I focus on the particular work I created at the Traces seminar at the same time as Amy that we did that. So fantastic. Okay, so I'm just gonna get sharing here. Is that looking nice and full screen? Can see everything okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, awesome, thank you. Okay, so I'll start off with my title page. So thank you again, Andrea and Gabrielle, for inviting me to speak today. I am joining from Mohkinstsis, or Calgary in Canada, and I've lived here just 4.5 years, and so most of the time I've been living here has been during the pandemic. I highlight this here because my physical and social and cultural relationships to the place in which I live are limited. However, given the circumstances, I've had the privilege and opportunity to connect more with the land and the non-human world around me in this time. While walking is a privilege that allowed me the opportunity to connect with the land and the non-human world I visited throughout my life. During this pandemic time, it has really shifted how I have focused my practice. And in the spirit of reciprocity, respect, and truth, I acknowledge that this land, I'm an uninvited settler occupying this land, which is the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, comprising the Siksika, Piikani, and Kainai First Nations, as well as the Tsuut'ina First Nation and the Goodstoney, including the Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Wesley First Nations. And this territory is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta Region 3. Today, I'm going to focus on my most recent practice that has developed during the pandemic, including the work I created at the Traces seminar, as well as a little bit on work that I created afterwards that really built upon that project. And I titled this talk Reorientations to Care because this is a recent exhibition title that I had in Ontario, Canada recently. And I'm going to, speak a little bit more formally, but also include some creative writing as well within this. So you'll notice some shifts in the ways in which I discuss things today. So my work has been really informed by my situatedness in Alberta, which is a province here in Canada. And there are particular relationships with the land that are reinforced and amplified here. In 2019, pre-pandemic, I attended a residency in Spain, in Basel, Switzerland. And I was able to visit a really old paper mill there, where I was able to kind of explore the use of some recycled paper making, and this really inspired my practice, allowing me to explore finding more sustainable ways of working. So when the first COVID-19 lockdown happened, I was, locked at home, and I was also very sick. And I began to slowly kind of recycle paper that I had accumulated over time. So that's what you're looking at here, is kind of my apartment floor during that time, with all the paper that I had began to process for paper making. And I began to make small books. And I really, use paper making as a way for me to respond to and take stock of what was immediately around me. It was also a chance to slow down and think more about the materials that were at play within my work. And so here's some examples of other works that I created on this paper in this most recent exhibition that I had and this paper was made at the beginning of the pandemic while I was at home. These pieces include screen printed confetti and text that I wrote during that time as well. So this is actually a work I created after the Traces seminar. So I'm going to kind of jump forwards, but then backwards again as well here. So enacting forms. There were so many days where the heat was too much, forcing fragments of polymer, polyester, and enamel to fall between cracks in the wood under my feet. In other times, there was no need for your protection, yet freckles still emerged on my skin. It was always there, like you, even when I couldn't see it. This text was written in conversation with this broken umbrella that was destined for the landfill. This text also embodies me grappling with the relationship between my lived experiences with gendered violence, as well as trauma and environmental violence that are so present within the place I call home. And these grapplings run through the Enacting Form series, which are some works that I'll present next as well. Within this piece, the piece is printed with the text from this poem that I read. It says, "It was always there like you, even when I couldn't see it." And this is printed repeatedly across the surface of the paper, which you can see on the right there. It in the sentence refers to the trauma that exists within me, yet it simultaneously refers to the sun, the impacts of environmental violence that permeate lives, and the permanence of objects that are always there, even when out of sight. It was always there, like you, even when we couldn't see it. So I'm just going to quickly jump to the SM Pro website because the images are so beautiful here as I read from this piece. When I touch you, I feel your breath. I feel the pulsation of fibers as they flicker in the soft wind. I feel the subtle fluctuations in tension across your seams, left behind by fleshy bodies cradled on your surface. When I touch you, I feel the gentle texture of fibers polluted by dust, sand, soil, and soot. The tiny grains roll off your surface, making their way to the ground beneath you. I feel us lose them. When I touch your damaged edges, the soft and delicate wisps of thread flutter across my fingertips, almost too quickly to absorb their presence. I feel your cold metal frame and the bumps and divots from long winters outside in prairie storms. Still strong, it attempts to maintain any semblance of your purpose. When I touch you, I feel the pressure on the soles of my feet as I rock myself backwards. When I touch you, I feel my belly brace before sinking, like at the top of a roller coaster, weightless. When I smell your surface, I breathe the soil and all the microbes that penetrate your body. I smell the oils off our bodies lounging in the sun. I smell the book I read as I nestled into you in the morning sun during a slow time like no other. I smell the winter. I smell the heat. The smell makes me imagine the networks active amongst your threads and in your crevices. The smell of I smell the cheap beer and spitty chew of a friend of a friend. When I smell you, I smell the grass that grew next to you where you lived. I smell the herbaceous spices that absorbed in my fingertips. Your smell is unstable and dynamic, like many who have felt you. When I smell you, I imagine the other ways you have smelled. I imagine you smell of something new, chemical, and sanitary emerging from a box. When I smell you, I imagine the life you lived before me, on a shelf, in a store, in production. I imagine the hands that have touched you that made you. I imagine the upheaval of resources from our land, seas, and soils that have allowed me to smell you. When I see you, I see a purpose lost, I see a metal frame holding together the torn fabric laced to its surface. I see a tiny pillow not large enough for indulgent comfort. I see your destiny just north of here, amongst other broken things, decaying matter, the overconsumed and their byproducts. I see the way your torn body shivers in the wind. I see that you are scared. I see the way you have changed. I see the way you have become your biome, full of living, breathing, and enacting parts. I see you outstretched in the elements and folded in the wind. I see you make yourself small. When I see you, I see that your colors are modeled with new textures and shapes emerging from your surface. I see the water that has hit you. I imagine some running below you into the earth and some absorbing into your porous surface, changing you, enacting on you, before evaporating into the clouds. When I see how you're active like the weeds in the garden, the soil beneath you, like the hail that hit you and the heat that surrounds you. When I see you, I see myself during golden hour, hastily flopping onto you, feeling safe yet trapped. I see myself sinking back into you before sinking too far, my face red with heat. I see my body folded through you. When I look at you, I see myself at 12, conscious for the first time of my rapidly changing body. I see myself bleeding, smelling, and truly sweating for the first time. When I look at you, I see my uncertainty. And I feel my heart racing as the seat below me snapped, quietly, I'm sure, but loud enough to send a familiar tremor through my body. When I see you, I feel the pinch that shot through me when I was 8. When I see you, I hear the sound of the wood hitting the floor, and I feel the shame rise within me as I fell in slow motion. When I see you, I see the stories that you embody and the bodies that you have held. So that text is written across this chair, or this sculpture. And as noted, the circumstances of the privilege have afforded me the privilege to think more deeply about the space and the things I surround myself by. So for most of the pandemic, I lived just south of a landfill. And like many others, I turned to walking to move my body and enliven otherwise more monotonous days in front of screens. Without much activity happening outside the home, I began to take better stock of what I surrounded myself with and became more keenly aware of the short distance that objects I throw away would travel to become just out of sight. Simultaneously, I attended the virtual seminar series called Traces with Andrea and Gabriel, as well as Amy. And I took this opportunity to expand my practice and was really encouraged to begin by deeply observing the world around me at that time. While I was thinking about my location close to the landfill and the objects that surrounded me, I was inspired also by another artist in the group, Jess DeMiro. And Jess DeMiro, as well as Amy and myself, as I recall, who are all in the group, we all actually did a lot of writing at that time, which was really interesting. Jess, I remember, wrote a number of really beautiful poems. And one of them was called "And Just Like That, the Day Begins," where she observed deeply a sunrise and recorded that experience. And simultaneously, at the same time, I was also reading a book by Jane Bennett called Vibrant Matter, in which she implores viewers to recognize the agency of non-human forms and forces in order to encourage more responsible ecologies. And so all of these things really informed the creation of this piece. And so while I came to this work through the collective conversation in the Traces seminar, the reading of Bennett as well, I also came to understand that the animacy of the more than human is also central to Indigenous thought and scholarship. And my friend and phenomenal artist, Judy Anderson, shared this with me as well. And I'm grateful for her for sharing this knowledge to me, because it allowed me to develop a deeper understanding of these ideas and their situatedness outside of kind of the white settler discourse, such as Bennett's work. And so I also, must respectfully acknowledge other scholars, Indigenous scholars, such as Todd Jones and Hoskins, Erica Violet Lee, and Vanessa Watts, who are all thinking about the more than human as animate. I do not, equate Indigenous thought and new materialisms here, but rather seek to understand that there are certain parallels and many differences between these worldviews. And also to kind of position this thinking, honoring that there are ways of thinking about the non-human world outside of the white academy that I work within in the university in Canada here. And so within my own practice, I really began with this piece to think about taking up notions of the animacy of the non-human world and reimagining relations between the things I surround myself with and am responsible to. So what has emerged is work, including this work, as well as the previous work I showed and some that I'll show next, that explores the use of language, image, objects, light, to develop a deeper recognition and understanding of throwaway objects as active agents within my domestic space, also natural spaces, but also within my body, memory, and all non-physical parts of being. These are a couple other works that I explored at that time as well. So I created a bookwork, as well as kind of a long banner piece here as well. These were all during the Traces seminar. There's a close-up exploring a lot of including holes in the work. And so the enacting parts piece that was the more chair form piece includes screen printed text panels. And I have also made kind of small circles cut throughout. And I'm going to jump back to that piece because I feel like it was a really pivotal piece within my practice. And so there's holes cut throughout, but as well as each panel is sewn together and strung across this deconstructed and reconfigured chair. The holes are cut through the paper and they make it permeable. And to me, upon further reflection and considering kind of this visual language again and again, I found that these felt like missing pieces within the work, and kind of consider them a way of acknowledging how my understanding of this object is incomplete, as there are gaps in my understanding more broadly of the non-human world. Simultaneously, these holes allow for shadows to be cast beneath the work, which I see as a way to make visible the intangible liveliness of this object beyond the form itself. And there you can see a little bit that it's sewn with gold thread, which attempts to kind of hold the paper together, piecing together these fragmented stories across the page, but also glimmering in the light. So it's kind of unsteady and vibrant. It's also propped precariously as if it could collapse at any moment, which is akin to the delicate balance at play between humans and other forces and lives in which we coexist. So I'm going to jump back just to show a couple works or pieces that I created after the residency that were inspired by this work. So this is a piece called Overconsumed, and it is created through a deep engagement with the roots of a tomato plant. After a long winter, I began preparing the garden at my house by pulling out any remaining no longer living kind of plant lives from the soil. And as I did, I noticed how the roots of this plant branched and extended in ways that reminded me of veins. They were beautiful, familiar, yet unusual. So I began this work by photographing the roots and created a photo intaglio plate from this macro image. The final piece that you see here includes 48 impressions of that image printed in color, transitioning from cool black at the top to a really transparent pink at the bottom. Like the previous work that I focused on, these are mounted together and reinforced by sewing as they cascade from the wall to another part of the metal frame and then across the floor. The impressions to me of the roots mirror one another, and it somehow kind of mimics a double helix or a DNA strand in a way. It extends across the gallery floor, embodying an extension of life through space and time. There's just a close-up of the shadow play at work here, as well as the threads dangling, which has begun to be something that I continue to work with as well. My mother's kind of stereotypical feminine handwriting also extends down the side of the front of the print. It reads overconsumed and underappreciated, but distills down to the word appreciated, which is repeated over and over until it becomes illegible across the bottom. The front of the work is dotted with printed pink confetti. Oh, there's a close-up of the text. And the back is covered in pink confetti as well. Through this whole project, which started with the piece I created in the Traces seminar, I seek to make visible the livelihood of useless or broken things in order to draw attention to issues of overconsumption, and to think about the infinite active participation of objects. I do this by reconfiguring throwaway objects into new forms, incorporating text, imagery, and exploring, of course, the use of light, shadow, and delicate materials. I hope that this work in some senses entices viewers to consider the implications of the materials included within the work and the objects that I've used within the creation as part of the sculpture's life beyond the purpose the object once served. More broadly, through the Enacting Forms project, I intend to maintain sustained engagement and dialogue with objects in order to trouble and make visible some of the intricacies of late capitalism and anthropocentrism more broadly. That said, this work is also contradictory in that through attempts I'm jumping ahead, sorry, I'll finish my thought here. Through attempts to deeply engage with the non-human, the work also orients itself around the human. Therefore, perhaps this work is at best a reflection of me grappling with this complex experience, understanding the liveliness of the more than human through my limited perspective, and is a mode for me to consider and hopefully entice others to consider their responsibilities to human and non-human lives and forces at play within our coexistence. And so, just to wrap up, I will quickly just flip through a couple other images of more recent work that have continued to explore these similar themes, as well as kind of particular focuses on care. And so this is a sculptural piece on the right that was inspired by these kind of packing materials that we sometimes see on the right of the screen here. I'm sorry, my image on the left is inspired by these air packets that are sent in shipping sometimes. It's a piece that's also printed with text, and it's stuffed with recycled materials as well, and it lies on the gallery floor. So this is an image from my most recent exhibition, which included that work. Also some other works that kind of use some of the visual languages I explored, but incorporating more photo-based elements into them as well. So there's an image of the previous work that I created in the Traces seminar within the context of this exhibition as well, next to some newer works. Close up there again of like subtle kind of use of shadows, which is another interesting thing that Amy and I both do within our practice, which I thought was really lovely. And yeah, and then the last work I'll show is just this really big banner piece as well. These are some close-ups where I'm really playing with kind of pillows as this way to like hold up and think about care within my work as well, support and care. So this really large piece I find also inspired by some of the work I created in the Traces seminar. So that's it. I will wrap up there. Thank you so much.
Many thanks.
Many
Thanks. Congratulations for the entire project. Really, it's amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Now we are open your microphones, please, to talk with them, with Amy and with Heather. So I don't know if someone. Okay, Anik, yes, please.
Anik.
Yeah, your microphone is off.
Congratulations to you both, Heather and Amy. I really loved so much your works. Heather, we are almost neighbors. I live in the Yukon. So yes, I really enjoyed your text, your work, everything. I also love shadows. They are like forever changing, always beautiful to me, at least. And the work you developed after the seminar is just fantastic. And Amy, I'm so happy to meet you because we have been following each other on Instagram, and I love your work. I feel such a deep connection with nature that just the pictures, the photographs in black and white of those trees, they are poems in just like that. You don't have to explain much. And then the sound of the birds singing. I really loved both your works and the work you developed after the seminar. Thank you so much for sharing all this with us.
Thank you so much. It's so nice to see you in at least not physical, but the visual, and hear you.
Many thanks,
Thank you
Annie.
so much.
Well, somebody else? Guido?
Guido.
Yeah.
Guido. Yes, Guido.
Question for Amy. And all this work on the shadows, that I was trying to, when you put the screens, are the screens right on top of the trees or in front of the camera? That's well, I was wondering when I was looking at this, where is the screen between the artist, the viewer, the photographer, and the object? I don't know if the question is clear enough.
Thank you. I actually had some images just right nearby that I can share with you to show you how I documented it really quickly. If I can.
Yes.
Show that. So I had the fabric on the ground and the camera on a tripod up above, as well as I threw the fabric down in various parts. I just walked around the trail of the Ebro River and put the fabric in various places and recorded. It was quite simple.
Yeah, it's amazing how the magic appears.
Yeah. I was imagining vertical curtain.
Yeah.
Well, I think in the Traces seminar, I did have it vertically in my backyard. I had it clothespin to different trees, and then I was recording it as the fabric was moving, and then the shadows would ebb and flow in between and around. But when I was in Spain, I just simply laid the fabric on the ground and recorded. Thank you. Thanks for your interest.
Thank you. Yeah.
But I don't know, is someone else? Well, we are very happy and very proud of the work Heather and Amy has done. Sorry, I don't know what's happening. I don't know. Can you see all the people or yes? Oh, sorry. And we are very, very proud of the work that you have done and also the work that you developed after being here or working with us in Traces seminar. And we are very proud of the work when you have exhibited it in the different exhibitions and continue working. So we are very, very happy. Really, we feel really proud many thanks, really.
Thank you so much. And yeah, thank you so much for the support and for everybody for joining today. I really appreciate having the conversation.
It's our pleasure, really, our pleasure.
Our pleasure.
Well, there are some
Grace, congratulations to
congratulations.
both of you.
And other messages that then we sent to you both. And Pity, congratulations to the artist. Many thanks, Pity. And well, Susana, can you please tell, instead of, we have to read it.
Thank you for sharing your work, and I love both of them.
Thank you so much. It was such an impactful experience, and I really appreciated sharing it with you today. And thank you again to Andrea and Gabriel and Heather for sharing your amazing work. It's so great to see it again.
Marisa, would you like to
Marisa,
say
please.
something? Where are you, Marisa? It's not now here. Well, Marisa says also congratulations to the artist
And thank
and thanks, yes, for sharing everything. So, well, we finish this meeting here, and well, Marisa is just Marisa is coming again, but I don't know. Marisa, are you connecting? You lost the connection. Marisa, yes. You have sent a message. Please tell us, Marisa.
Yes, hello. I just want to congratulate both artists. They are really amazing. I found their work so sensitive and so simple yet so beautiful. Really, I was really impressed with both works. I found them quite different, but in the end, they kind of mix in the same feeling. So I really want to congratulate both of you. Really, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well, many thanks, Marisa, and many thanks all of you for being there and sharing this time with us and with Heather.
Heather, many thanks.
Many thanks, really.
Ladies.
And let's stay in touch. Renata, thank you for for the bottom
Thank
of
you
the
from
hair.
the bottom of my hair for sharing your art with us. I don't know. Well,
Okay, thank you, Renata. Many thanks for all and to all of you, and goodbye, and we see you in the next meeting. Thank you.
please take care of you, and
Bye-bye.
many thanks to all.
Bye-bye.